Hi, everyone. I'm going to talk about something that you can do to supercharge relationships. Just the other day, I was with my eldest daughter and my grandchild, and we were walking out to the shops, and someone came up to me and said, "Oh my gosh, you have the cutest shoes on! Wow, girl, go girl!" And I felt so good. It was such a simple compliment. I love my little outfits. I always tend to have things matching. I've got my shoes matching. I do have really cute shoes and cute outfits. But it just made me feel so good that this person commented. And then honestly, 2 minutes later, literally we were walking out the shop and someone also complimented me on my shoes. And then about half an hour later, we were somewhere else and someone complimented me on the whole little outfit that I had going on. And on top of it, they were then complimenting me on this gorgeous granddaughter of mine. Well, I felt so good. I mean, it was such a simple thing, just someone complimenting me on a pair of shoes and my adorable granddaughter and a cute outfit, but it made me feel so amazing. I felt supercharged. I felt filled with energy. And I'm sure you can recall like a time when you've had a compliment, maybe about your shoes, or maybe about something you've done at work. Or, someone gave me a compliment at work the other day, and it was just, I felt so good. I was feeling so kind of like just nah. And then I got this compliment and I just felt supercharged. And then the other thing is giving someone a compliment and then seeing how they respond. It just supercharges the whole relationship, the whole dynamic, the whole atmosphere changes. And this is hardcore science. When you give a compliment or you receive a compliment and it's genuine and honest, and you're going to talk all about those elements as we go through this Neuroliving podcast, as you give that, you are coming from this force, this real thing that you've wired into your brain, and you are speaking from that, and you're generating out this beautiful energy. And that energy has been picked up by that other person, and it creates this back and forth, deep, meaningful connection. And it just boosts our resilience. It does all these beautiful things inside of us. So complimenting is really a fantastic way of supercharging relationships. So, maybe just think of it, maybe a day when your day wasn't going so well, and then you get a compliment. My day was going well when I got the compliment about my shoes, but as I said, the other compliment came when I wasn't feeling so great, and it shifted the whole day. It shifted the whole moment that I was feeling flat into feeling like, hey, I can do this. I've got energy. I can keep moving forward. Compliments are simple, but they have such a large impact and such a great ripple effect, because the frequency of a genuine, honest compliment is so beautiful that you don't see that frequency, you feel it. And it's like almost like putting a ray of sunshine on you, smelling roses, and all these really, cute analogies. But really, it's real. The electromagnetic light forces and auditory sound waves from the compliment are very, very good for you. You giving it and you receiving it. So how could you use compliments as an intrinsic part of your relationships? For example, how can you make this part of you? Like that, since someone gave me that shoe compliment, it made me feel so good that I'm pretty good at giving compliments, but I've made an effort like to notice if someone has a pair of cute shoes or has a cute outfit, or I find something to compliment them about. Now, I have a very good friend who's was also my professor for my master's and my PhD, and the Professor Brenda Lowe, and she has an absolute knack for giving compliments, but in the most genuine, honest way. I was trying to say the word honest and genuine together. It came out in another word. I made up a new word. But she is so genuine and so honest about her compliments. And I have never not seen her give one. She's not over effusive with them. They are totally spot on. She just knows what to say. She's chosen to make it a lifestyle, and it's part of who she is. It just comes out so naturally. And sometimes it will be multiple compliments. Sometimes it'll just be one, but it's always going to be something that's going to lift that person up. And what's really beautiful about it is that, like, for example, when she would grade my work through things that I'd submitted, like papers for my master's or my PhD, and you do a lot of writing for those, it would come back with lots of red lines, lots of feedback. But there was always a compliment. So it wasn't just like negative feedback. I didn't feel, oh my gosh, look at this, I did nothing right. I knew, because of who she was, I knew that I would find gems. And yes, it was a lot to edit, but I would learn a lot. But I had a good attitude because I knew in that she would, in amongst the read, she would say, okay, this is great. This is not so great. This is great. This is not so great. And so that, that made my ability to receive her her feedback so much easier. And so compliments really to filter them into your daily communication is such a wonderful thing to do from a scientific perspective, from a human communication perspective, and also just to turbo boost or supercharge, literally supercharge how you function and how other people function. So when you compliment someone, great things really do happen. So here's a couple of lovely things from the research. You can reliably increase happiness and personal well-being. I mean, there's research showing that your happiness can increase and your well-being by engaging in random acts of kindness, like giving a compliment. So honestly, like maybe you're getting coffee from that barista at Starbucks and there's a whole line and you feel grumpy and you don't feel like waiting and you want your coffee and it's, irritating. But you could just maybe look around at the person next to you and just say, oh my gosh, you've got such a gorgeous smile. As you get up to the front, that barista's maybe really like flustered because they've been working so hard and people maybe haven't been very kind. And you could, look for something. There could be a smile. There could be just the way that they're doing their work so efficiently without getting thrown by people getting irritated, or look for an opportunity. And when you look for it, it's amazing how you find them. I mean, it's just amazing that it's so easy to find them. And also it's like, it works like this. You give it and you'll very often get them back. Maybe not in that absolute moment, but I know when I've been given a compliment, my immediate thing is to look for something. It's like it triggers in me a response where I want to find something to compliment that person on. And I find myself looking for something to compliment them on. And sometimes it comes out straight away. Sometimes it doesn't. But I find I get that reaction and I'm getting better. The more you do it, the better you get at it. So just think now, let's do a little action together. So if you, the most effective way of achieving this, of engaging in random acts of kindness and giving a compliment, is to intentionally engage at least one day a week in doing 5 random acts of kindness. So here's one option. So here's a little exercise that you could practice where you could decide, okay, I'm going to intentionally work on complimenting others. And I'm going to allocate a day and I'm going to make sure that it is a Monday or a Tuesday or whatever. And I'm going to make sure that I do 5 random acts of kindness, and I'm actually going to write that down. Now, you may already find that you're giving compliments. So this would be a redundant activity. It may be something that's, like too simple for you because you might already be quite good at giving compliments, or you might not know if you're good or not. So before you perform this action, you may want to just observe yourself for a couple of days. Just observe yourself. How many compliments are you actually giving to people? Are you giving any compliments? So this is a great thing. So action number 1 is select a day and choose one day in the week and choose 5 random acts of kindness. If you'd like to maybe do 5 a day or 1 a day, or make sure you're doing 1 a day. You can find your own rating, your own sort of time frame. I'm suggesting this 1 day a week, at least 5 random acts of kindness where you'd give someone a compliment. Okay. And the other thing you can do is, if you're not sure if you give compliments, or if you're not giving them honestly enough or not enough, or you're just not sure, why don't you observe yourself? Just observe yourself for 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 if you want to, and make a note. Each time you give a compliment, write it down. And each time you get a compliment, write that down. And then also make a note of how you feel. Be aware. Stand back and observe yourself as you give the compliment. Look at your face, your body language, how you're connecting. Observe that person's response to you, and then observe your response back to that person. This is very much like tuning in and becoming aware. And this is really great because as we increase our awareness in this very focused way, we actually are training ourselves to get to supercharge our relationships, to supercharge our psychoneurobiology. So increased awareness helps us to do that, to step into the supercharge mode. So giving compliments makes you grateful. Okay, so in the previous one, we said the research shows that it can increase happiness and personal well-being. And I give you the option of observing and then doing the 5 random acts 1 day a week if you want to, or you can do it more. And that exercise alone is going to increase your own happiness and your personal well-being. So great benefit. And it also helps you to be more grateful. Uninvited compliments are so much more powerful. So giving compliments makes you grateful, and uninvited compliments are more powerful. So when they just come out of the blue to you, or you give them out of the blue to someone else, that increases gratefulness. Now, there's so many people talking about how we need to keep gratitude diaries and how gratefulness is so good for your mind, brain, and body. And, kindness and love, and be wired for love. This is all real. This is not woo-woo stuff. This is hardcore psychoneurobiological and electromagnetic energy. Quantum physics shows us that we are wired for love. So if giving a compliment is an action that you can take that will increase your ability to be more grateful for what you have around you, what's going on in your life, to just look at life in a more grateful way, and to be more grateful for people around you and for things that are happening, that is good for your psychoneurobiology. That's going to drop down your cortisol. It's going to increase your DHEA. It's going to increase your DHEA cortisol ratio, which is a good thing. If that doesn't mean anything to you, what it means on a biological level is that you're going to be healthier. It's going to give your body a physical boost. And when your body feels better, your mind feels better, and so on. So little action that you can do for this whole, how compliments help increase gratitude. So practice gratitude. Think of 3 things daily you're grateful for. I mean, there's so many ways to practice gratitude, and you've probably already got a practice, but here's one. If you don't, here's one. Think of 3 things daily that you're grateful for. So like when you wake up in the morning, be grateful for whatever, maybe at lunchtime and maybe in the evening. Get a routine, because otherwise the day goes by and we get busy and we think, was I actually grateful today? I mean, myself personally, I realized that today I wasn't once grateful for something. Now I'm busy recording this podcast, and suddenly I'm thinking, hey, I didn't even practice my 3 gratitude things for today. And in my head, I'm already thinking, I'm really grateful that I'm really grateful for the coffee that my husband bought me. I'm really grateful that I had the most wonderful meeting with my 2 daughters who work for me, and we had such a great meeting about such interesting stuff. And I'm really grateful for the fact that I'm going on holiday soon, and I'm so excited about that. And I can say a 4th one. I'm going to see my son this weekend, and so I'm really grateful for that. You see, now it started. Now I'm suddenly thinking of a bunch of stuff. So being deliberate about actually deciding, okay, at least 3 times today, I'm going to make sure I'm grateful. And my check-in time is wake up time, lunchtime, dinner time. And as you practice that, you may find yourself like doing it more often, or like I did now. As I said this, it reminded me, and I said a whole bunch. And that is helping you with your psychoneurobiology. It's helping you with your mental health. It's helping you make you feel better. It's helping you more grateful. So gratitude action makes you more grateful. So this will naturally overflow into giving genuine, meaningful compliments. So the more grateful you are for your life will help you give genuine compliments. Genuine compliments are important, because we all know, like, if you don't give a genuine compliment or you don't receive it, it just doesn't sit right, because we know, we can sense it. Our eyes don't, our eyes are saying something different to what our mouths are saying, and it's in our body language, and just the way, or the energy that it comes with, the magnetic energy is out of alignment with the words, and we pick that up. So by being grateful, we can get into a natural mode of giving genuine, meaningful compliments. Okay, so because gratitude naturally spills over into complimenting the source of the gratitude. So giving compliments creates a ripple of positivity. I mean, we've already said this, like literally a ripple. You start one compliment and you suddenly feel better. I'm thinking of another incident where I was in a meeting, and something it was about a week or so ago, and a person gave me a compliment that said something that was, I mean, they just hadn't said that before in that way. And it was also a day where I was kind of a little bit concerned and a bit worried, and had a few things on my mind, and it was one of those okay days. And I tell you, the compliment just made me feel wonderful, but it had a ripple effect, because there was a whole team involved in this meeting, and suddenly everyone was smiling and complimenting each other. And so there was a ripple of positivity, and the meeting was just like had a turbo boost. It was supercharged. It was contagious, and it tends to get paid forward. So compliments create a ripple of positivity, which then creates contagion in a good way and tends to get paid forward. So action. Think of how you felt the last time you received a compliment. Just think about that right now as we're talking. Just think about the last time you received a compliment, how it made you feel. I'm thinking of that one I've just described. And now think how you can pay it forward. So this is also a great activity that you can do. So now You thought of it. Okay, now think of how you can pay it forward. So when you finish listening to this NeuroLive podcast, you can now think of who can you go and how could you pay this forward? Maybe it's a text to send someone. Maybe it's an email. Maybe it's a phone call. Maybe there's someone around you. Maybe you can put pause right now on this and you can give someone who's sitting next to you a compliment. Try that out now. Okay. Giving compliments strengthens interpersonal relationships because it increases empathic concern. Okay, so it strengthens our relationships because it creates empathy. So it makes you tune into others. And empathy, we all know, is being able to not just put yourself in another person's shoes, but it's genuinely try and tune into what they're going through and support in whatever way is necessary. It's also enabling you to see things from their perspective. So instead of just seeing it from your own perspective, you can see it from their perspective. So if you're battling with empathy or someone is frustrating you, whether it's a family member or a friend or work colleague, by finding a genuine compliment, that can open the door to empathy and improve the relationship. So a little action step you can take here is be deliberate about finding a way to compliment those around you to foster deep, meaningful connection and develop this empathy. So let's plan this together now. Think of a situation right now that you know that maybe there's someone who in your family or friend or work who you have a slightly prickly relationship with, that they can, they tend to maybe trigger you a little bit just by the way that they handle conversations. And now think about that person. And now think about them in terms of what could you find to genuinely compliment them on. Just think about that now. Okay. And now, once you've got that, write it down. And then next time you're with them, it may be today, tomorrow, next week, whenever, make sure that you give that compliment and see how that helps you shift into empathy. It may not just work once, you may have to do it a few times, but it will help you have more empathy for that person. So instead of being triggered by them, you might find yourself staying calmer, stepping into their shoes, having empathy and using words in a different way. That instead of creating a fiery response between the two of you, it dampens down that response. Okay, so there's a little thing a great tip that you can carry out. Okay, so just some interesting research stuff is research shows that the quality of relationships literally depends on the ratio of compliments to criticism. I really love this research. This is really cool. Okay, so we've got some tips and I'm quickly going to go through those tips again. So to make sure that you know what to do. And then I'm going to dive into a little bit of research to emphasize this even more. Okay, so when you compliment someone, great things happen. So it increases happiness and well-being. And your little action there is at least one day a week to give 5 compliments, or you can choose any time frame. And also, if you're not sure, observe yourself over a 24, 48, or 72 hours. Generally, about 48 hours is enough, and you'll see your pattern of giving or not giving compliments. Then it makes you grateful. So the whole concept of it increases gratefulness, and that will overflow into genuine compliments. And the more grateful you are, the healthier you'll be as well. It creates a ripple of positivity. And the little action there is think of how you felt when you were complimented and how you can pay it forward. And giving compliments strengthens interpersonal relationships because it increases empathy. So then you've got that little exercise to do where you think of someone that maybe triggers you and think of a compliment, write that down, and then apply that compliment and see how that changes the empathy. How that changes the relationship. Okay, so research. Now let's get to the research side. So research shows that the quality of a relationship, so quality in terms of deep, meaningful connection, turn-taking, empathy, feel good, building each other up, being honest, all this good quality stuff literally depends on the ratio of compliments to criticism. So if you want to take your relationship maybe with your partner, with your children, with your work colleagues, with your friends to a deeper level, then the ratio of how you use compliments to criticism is really important. Research shows as well that we get so busy with our day-to-day lives that we actually can forget to compliment. And then we lose out on all those benefits to our well-being and our happiness and our health and deep and quality relationships and so on. So the people in our day-to-day lives, work and home, quite literally flourish and perform better and like us more. 3 benefits. So the quality of relationship, when we have the right ratio of compliments to criticism, your relationships will literally flourish in terms of quality. people will perform better in terms of work performance or just in terms of relationship performance, and they'll like us more. Okay. And we all want to be liked if we provide a balanced proportion of positive feedback with correction. Okay. So like in every relationship, like a parent to a child, a parent to a parent, a partner to a partner, friend to, we all are in the process of growing. So at some point you're going to get criticism, and some point feedback on what you're doing. And if you are giving feedback, always remember to sandwich it in the correct way. And this is where the research comes in. I'm sure you've heard of sandwiching things, like sandwiching compliments and criticism, whatever, sandwiching what you say, positive and negative, or that kind of thing. Well, here's a ratio to, here's your compliment sandwich ratio. Okay, so in terms of the workplace, in the corporate environment, or in any workplace, whether it's education, corporate, home office, whatever, the highest performing corporate teams had a ratio of around about 5.6, so 5 to 6 compliments for every one criticism. So if you're going to criticize someone in the team, if you're going to give positive criticism, make sure that you sandwich that with at least 5 to 6 compliments. So you may want to give 2 compliments, 1 piece of criticism, and then 3 compliments. Something like that. So plan it in your mind, maybe pre-plan. So if you're going into a team meeting and you know that you have to deal with something with that person, then, and you know that from working with that person, maybe you know that they're pretty sensitive. So then I would go for literally would go for at least 3 positive things that are genuine, honest. We're going to talk about that in a moment. And then the criticism, and then another 2 compliments. Sandwich it like that. And the research shows in doing it like that, you are going to get a higher performance response. So that person's going to hear what you're saying, take your criticism, and move forward with that criticism in a positive way, and be able to evaluate what you're saying, find the gems, and apply that. And as a team, because then you working with that person in the team, you may do this individually, or it may pop up that it happens during a team meeting. That's going to improve the whole relationship within the team. You may have to you may be the team leader, and you're complementing a team project. So it may not be an individual person. It may be that there's a team project. So you may want to say, I love this about this project so far. I really think this is a really good direction. This is what's worrying me, criticism. And then, but I do like this, this, and this. And if there's more that's worrying you, do it. Just keep sandwiching it. So if you then go in prepared, don't go in unprepared. Go in prepared. And then as you do this more and more, you'll get better and better at it. In terms of lowest performing teams, where they don't do as well and you want people to be productive, the ratio was 1 compliment for every 2.8 criticisms. So it would be a 2 to 3 criticisms and then a compliment. And they didn't do well. Or maybe there was 1 compliment and then 3 criticisms. 1 compliment, 3 criticisms, or 3 criticisms, 1 compliment. In other words, there's this ratio of 3 to 1, where there's more criticisms than compliments in a ratio of 3 criticisms to 1 compliment. People didn't do well with that. So even though the compliment was there, they did not do as well. So there's something to be said for compliments, and compliments don't have to be just silly things. They need to be meaty. So that's why we need to think about how especially if you're dealing with a work environment, if you're dealing with a child, dealing with a partner, when you're trying to solve something where there is a problem, make sure that you try and apply this ratio. Okay, so the next thing is, in terms of couples, there's like a magic ratio of positive to negative compliments. And that ratio is a 5 to 1. So 5 compliments for every 1 criticism. Now, this is so interesting because I've been married for 37 years. I have a great relationship. I often speak about my relationship with my husband. We still have our issues because we work together 24/7. So we're always together. But there's one thing that we have always worked on, and that's looking for compliments. But in recent months, we've had a lot going on. We had some really bad stuff happening back a few months ago, and we've just moved into, I don't think we ever really quite processed through certain things, and we just got busy. And that can happen. This is life. And we got really busy. And I think that, I know especially from my side, that my compliments dropped. And I didn't give enough. But I also didn't know about this 5 to 1 ratio. And this has really been interesting because when I prepared this podcast and I saw this 5 to 1 ratio as the magic ratio, I started testing it out on my husband over this past couple of weeks. And my goodness, what a difference. So quickly, like when I want to just get irritated and say, you always do this, I'll stop myself and I'll catch myself and say, oh, sorry. Okay. And then I'll find at least 2 or 3 things that are compliments. Then I'll say the criticism and then I'll say another compliment so that 5 to 1. So maybe 2 positive, 1 criticism, and then 3 positive, something like that. And if there's another one. So I consciously and deliberately stop myself, think about that and say that. And they don't have to be massive things. I mean, it could be something as maybe getting irritated because, okay, here's one. So my husband tends to interrupt when I'm talking and it drives me crazy, and I try not to do it to him, and I'm sure I do it to him too, but he really will interrupt. He'll ask questions because he likes to get the detail, and I'm quite long-winded at times, and he likes to get precise detail. And so I was talking about something, and this was a couple of weeks back because I've been practicing this now for 2 weeks, this 5-to-1 ratio. It's made such a difference. And he said something, and I was saying something, and I was telling him something I was super excited about, and I hadn't even said the first sentence and he interrupted me. And I immediately got irritated and I immediately climbed in and criticized. You always interrupt me. Let me finish what I'm saying. And I spoke like that. It wasn't very nice. And then I stopped myself and said, sorry. And then I said, okay, you know what? You like short. You're asking questions because you want like short, little, concise bits of information. I love the way that you like to kind of get the main points. I mean, you're really good at that. You're better than me at that. So I've given 3 already, 3 compliments there. So, but I really would you mind if I could just kind of finish like this little chunk? And then I'll say, okay, I've said this, but do you want to ask me? Then do you mind if I finish this little section and then you interrupt me? Sorry, not interrupt me. Then you give me those short little summaries or ask me those questions. And we were walking, so we did it, while we were walking. Sometimes there's a lot I'm saying, so he'll actually write it down. I said, you mind if writing it down and then you can ask me the questions. But because I said I love how he summarizes. I mean, he does. He's incredible at like finding the bullet points in my long waffle. He's very good at that. And he's also very good at reconceptualizing. So I might come out with this whole problem and he interrupts me. I get irritated with him interrupting me. Now I'd stop that. And then I would say a little bit and then he would summarize. Say a little bit, summarize, say a little bit, summarize, and then he would help me reconceptualize. So now that we've been practicing this, instead of me getting irritated when he interrupts me, I can go and remind myself of the compliment, give him the compliments, give him the critique, and then another compliment. And we've applied this not just in him interrupting me, but he's doing it to me with the things that I do. I'm telling you, it's changed things. It's just like everything's gentler and calmer. I'm making up words today. Calmer, etc. Okay. So key thing though, with giving these compliments, this applies both to your teams and to couples. Be interested. Express affection. So be interested. Like don't be looking at your cell phone or your eyes are like, there where you're thinking of the next thing. Be interested when you're giving compliments, when you are listening to give compliments, when you're receiving, be interested. Express affection. Okay. So be affectionate. So don't when I did that, when I interrupted my husband, I put my hand on his arm and I said, I'm sorry, so there was a touch. I looked at him, I smiled. Demonstrate that they matter. I said, I really care. I don't want us to argue. I don't want to get irritated about this. I mean, this is important to me that we don't waste special time together on stupid things. I demonstrated that he mattered. I intentionally showed appreciation. I wanted to show him what he does really nicely and kindly. I want to show him that I appreciate that. And it's made me automatically look for opportunities for agreement. This has shifted the way that I'm thinking. And my empathy and my ability to apologize has increased. So even though all of these little be interested, express affection, demonstrate their matter, intentional appreciation, find opportunities for agreement, empathize and apologize, you may not do those all in this moment, but by remembering those and practicing this 5-to-1, these are the sorts of things that you'll bring into a relationship to improve the quality of your relationship. So, some more interesting research. Compliments tend to follow a predictable pattern. Generally, they're directed at a person's appearance, performance, or possessions, which is interesting. Not always. This is just from the research. I found it very interesting. There's also compliments follow a predictable pattern in terms of words that are used. So 2 out of 3 compliments use these 5 adjectives: nice, good, beautiful, pretty, and great. Interesting. Not the only. It's just that this is from research, general findings. And there's also a bit of a demographic pattern. Women in unstructured settings tend to give and receive more compliments than men in a ratio of 3-1. So they'll give 3 times more compliments than a man in an unstructured, and also women are better at receiving. Men compliment more on performance and women more on appearance. Just something interesting. Doesn't make it wrong or bad, but it means we can all improve, because you don't want to just compliment on appearance or performance. You want to do everything. You want to look for all kinds of things. So what are the criteria of a good compliment? So believable and from a person with credibility to give it. So if someone is like a car salesman, for example, when we were buying our last car, the car salesman didn't know me from a bar of soap and immediately started giving me compliments about my work. And all he knew was that I had the doctor title and was in something to do with mental health. Didn't know anything about me. So it wasn't credible. And I knew he was just trying to butter me up to sell me a car. So it wasn't credible. It needs to be appropriate. You don't want to give inappropriate compliments that make people uncomfortable. And then sincere and unscripted. So earlier on, I said, maybe you have to prepare some of when you're in a team and you're going to do work on, and you've got a criticism that you have to give and you need to give some compliments. You, to a certain extent, will be scripted because you'll plan them, but it mustn't be made up. It mustn't be, so it's unscripted in the sense of it being genuine. So maybe a better word there is sincere and genuine. Not that you have these standard stock like compliments that you just give out to everyone, because then they mean nothing. Because if I've heard you say the exact same thing to 20 other people, it's scripted. It doesn't mean anything. So my friend that I spoke about earlier on, Professor Brenda Lowe, she never says the same thing. I mean, honestly, it's unreal. It's like literally each compliment comes out in this beautiful package that is suitable for that moment and for that person. Some people battle to accept compliments, and that could be for all kinds of reasons, and you may have that in you. So if you battle to accept compliments, it may be worth doing a little bit of work on yourself. You could do a neurocycle to try and find out why. Could be to do with self-concept or self-identity. For example, if you've got low self-esteem, you may battle to accept compliments. I've had patients who, when someone gives them a compliment, they'll say things like, "Oh, that person just sucking up to you for something," or they just saying that because you, my friend, or whatever. They don't receive it. Or they say, "Oh," and they brush it aside. And in their head, they've got the self-criticism that's saying, I'm not worthy of that. Could also be that they're modest. They could have grown up in a home where you get told things like, "Oh, don't be vain. Don't show off." So it's like they could be modest in that sense, or it could be modest in that they're kind of shy. They don't know how to receive it. And then, they those kind of people, it's good to say to them, "Hey, listen, just receive it. You deserve this," and help them receive it. Or if they are being modest because they were never really allowed to receive a compliment. If you think it may be that, you can say, "Hey, listen, you really do deserve and are allowed to receive compliments. It doesn't mean that you're bad or vain or anything. This is genuine. I want to gift you with this compliment." And for some people, they may not want to appear superior. So that could be why they battle to receive compliments. That may be you. So here's some things that you can go dig around and see if that's maybe applicable to you if you battle to receive compliments, or someone that you know and you could help them. So some guidelines for complimenting. Be honest. Okay, I've said this a few times now. People know and will reject what they perceive as dishonest. You know that. You the same thing, like the car salesman example. Be strategic and don't just flatter. My friend who gives all the compliments, she doesn't just flatter. It's not flattery. Flattery is kind of almost empty, where it's kind of, you think, what do they want? Compliments are genuine and honest and make you feel good about you. And there's a good back and forth, and it lands in the right place. Look for something that you know that they will believe. If you say something that they're not going to believe and it's totally off the mark, they're not going to receive it. Ask yourself before giving the compliment, do I truly believe what I'm going to say, or am I just saying this to keep the peace? So, you may want to adjust your compliment or not give it in that moment, because it's better to be honest than to give a dishonest compliment. So if not, don't say it. Okay, so that's the be honest thing. Second thing, I love this one. Make your compliment a pure gift. A gift, we all know the research. You've all heard it. You've all experienced it. Giving a gift is better than receiving a gift, because you get so excited about what that person's going to their face and how they're going to enjoy it and their facial expressions. And so give a compliment in the same way. Give it freely. Don't expect reciprocity. Nothing asked, nothing expected in return. Okay, so make it a pure gift. Avoid comparing. Don't compare when you compliment, because it can actually downgrade the compliment. For example, you look so much better than that person who's your age, because that makes you kind of a person feel, oh, it's just not, it's not nice. It doesn't land well, as I said earlier too. Rather say, you look amazing for your age. What are you doing? Okay. And then rule number 4, compliment moral beauty too, not just the physical. Look at what the person's doing. Like like my friend who gives compliments all the time. I compliment her about that all the time. You always see the good in people. And that's a beautiful compliment. I love this about you, Brenda. You always see the good in people. So look for that. Look at people that just randomly do acts of kindness. I mean, my husband's so generous. He's always reaching out and helping someone with something. And he'll in a elevator, he'll be the one to talk to people. He's kind. Okay. And so look, compliment that. So I'll say to him, I love how kind you are. You're much kinder than like most people I know, even kinder than me. You'll be kind to a random stranger. Acts of courage, when people are brave and do something courageous. Maybe it's something that like I had to learn a whole bunch of new technology and had to do something on my own in my studio because my producer couldn't be there. And it took a lot of courage for me to handle all the technology and everything. And I received a compliment on my act of courage that I did that. And I loved that. It made me feel so good and thought, I did this. It was an act of courage that someone complimented me for, because it took a lot of courage for me to work all the technology. Silly example, but you get the idea. Acts of self-sacrifice, where someone has given up, like a mom for a child who they've given up a lot of things, or a dad for a child, or whatever, partner for a child, or a sibling for a sibling, or a friend for a friend. If you've noticed that and say, wow, you've done so much for that person, that's so beautiful. I really want to compliment you for doing that. That's just like amazing what you did. Okay, so there we go. Let's quickly look at the last. So in summary, be honest. So these are guidelines for good complimenting. Be honest. Make your compliment a pure gift. Avoid comparing, and compliment moral beauty as well. Genuine compliments elicit moral elevation, which is experienced as pleasant feelings of warmth in the chest. And it's literally electromagnetic fields and theta waves and everything flowing through you, feeling uplifted and moved. Compliments move you because it's like someone has tuned in and seen you. I see you. I see you, and I see this about you. So it's very moving, and which in turn leads to being more optimistic about life in general. Who wouldn't want to work on being a good complimenter and receiver of compliments? Made up another word too. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.